Part 30. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 291. Chapter 291. Let's wait until she graduates to discuss this matter. But now, he won't. As long as he thought that there was someone waiting for him at home, he just wanted to get off work early and go back to spend time with his new wife. No matter how important work is, nothing can be as important as her. He can still distinguish these things clearly. The old lady took Chiao Mianmian's hand with a look of reluctance and patted the back of her hand again and again. Mian, ACI, as soon as he gets busy with work, he forgets about it day and night. From now on, you need to supervise him more and don't let him work so hard. Before, he didn't have a family, and he didn't have anything to worry about. Work was everything to him. Now that I have you, Grandma won't have to worry about him so much. You and ACI have now received their marriage certificate, and your parents have also seen it. Have you ever thought about when to hold the wedding? If you plan to hold it soon, Grandma can find a feng shui master early to show you a good time. The old lady suddenly mentioned the wedding, and Chiao Mian was a little unable to answer. She was stunned for a few seconds and opened her mouth. Well, Grandma, Grandma, the wedding is not urgent for the time being. Mo Yesi squeezed her palm and helped her out. Mian is still in school, so we don't plan to hold a wedding prematurely. Let's wait until she graduates to discuss this matter. Chiao Mian immediately gave him a grateful look. Fortunately, he rescued her in time, otherwise, she really didn't know how to answer. She really hasn't thought about holding a wedding now. She was not yet 20 years old, and she did not want people to know that she was married too early. Especially before she graduates. Although marrying Mo Yesi is not a shameful thing, and it can even be said that with his conditions, there must be countless women who want to marry him, but she always feels that people know that she got married so early. Not great. Even though Zhang Luli had such a good relationship with her, she didn't tell her about the marriage. After all, she once claimed that she was an absolute career woman, and she would never consider getting married until she had worked hard to build a career. The current situation is too slap in the face. She didn't tell Mo Yesi why she didn't want to hold the wedding now. But I didn't expect that he could actually guess her thoughts. The old lady just asked. After hearing what he said, she nodded and said, yes, she is still young, so she doesn't need to be so anxious about the wedding. Anyway, this is a matter for you as a young couple, so you can just think about it. I'm just afraid of wronging Mian. Unyielding, Grandma. Chiao Mian looked at the old man in front of her who was as kind as her grandmother, and felt moved in her heart. You are so kind to me, I can't even thank you enough. How can I feel wronged? That's good. The old lady reached out and touched her head, as if she were her biological granddaughter, her eyes full of love. But now you are also the official second young lady of our Mo family. Even if there is no wedding, we have to have a wedding party. It's enough to invite some acquaintances to the banquet. What do you think? For such a well-behaved grandson-in-law, if I want me to hide her even from acquaintances, Grandma will be very upset. Also, ask your family when they are free. Shouldn't our two families sit down and have a meal together? These two requests made by the old lady are not excessive at all. Although Chiao Mian never thought about letting the Chiao family meet with the Mo family, she couldn't say no. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 292. Chapter 292 will only hurt your relationship between mother and son. If she refuses again, it will appear that she is ignorant. She hesitated for a moment, then raised her head and looked at Mo Yesi. Mo Yesi made eye contact with her and guessed what she was worried about, so he answered for her. Grandma wants to hold a banquet to invite your acquaintances. Of course, it's no problem. You can set a time and inform me and just give it a quick shout. As for the two families having dinner together, We'll let you know when we decide. Then it's settled. Asterisk. MRSMO and the old lady stood by the fountain, watching the Rolls-Royce slowly drive into the night until it disappeared. The old lady reluctantly looked back. Turning her head, she glanced at MRSMO, who was also looking reluctant to leave. She thought about it and said seriously, "Wenpei, what's going on with you today? Do you have any objections to me and Mian?" MRSMO was still immersed in the sadness of her son's departure. After hearing these words, she suddenly came back to her senses. Her eyes were a little flustered. "Mom, why do you think so? What can I say about Mian?" The old lady looked at her intently, with suspicion in her eyes that had read countless people. "You really have no objection? Why didn't you accept the chicken soup that Mian brought to you? Wenpei, don't think about it. You have become a mother-in-law. I have to give my new wife a warning. You know what kind of person your son is. How can he be okay with you treating his wife like this?" MRSMO was not happy when she heard this. "If he has any opinions, I'm his mother. Is it possible that you still want to get angry with your own mother because of an outsider?" The old lady frowned, and the expression on her face became serious. "It doesn't matter if you are his mother. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Your son's temper really annoyed him, and it will only hurt your mother-son relationship. You don't know what your son's temper is like. The woman he finally fell in love with is so precious that he holds her in his hands and feels pain in his heart. Even his own mother can't let her daughter-in-law suffer. Wenpei, if you still miss you, if the relationship between mother and child is good, try to be more loving to your wife and be nice to your wife. Even if you are dissatisfied, don't show it in front of ACI. Why do you think he is so much colder to you today than in the past? Even an old woman like me can see this. Do you really think he can't see it?" MRSMO's expression changed when the old lady said it. Her son was indeed a little colder towards her this time. "I am not as close to her as I used to be when I went home. Especially after she deliberately didn't take the bowl of chicken soup that Jiao Mian handed her, his attitude suddenly became much colder. For a moment, MRSMO felt angry and sad, and she also felt a little cold. Just because she was a little cold towards his wife, he was showing off to him? Is this the son she has raised and loved for more than 20 years? Also, now that Asi's lifelong events have been decided, don't think about what is or isn't. I have made it clear to that girl from the Shen family. She has always been sensible, and I will definitely not treat a Si again. Si-kun has something on his mind. The old lady sees everything. MRSMO's dissatisfaction with Jiao Mian and her desire to have Shenro as her daughter-in-law were all obvious. The reason why she said so much to MRSMO was on the one hand to comfort her, and on the other hand it was also a warning and reminder. She is very satisfied with her current granddaughter-in-law, but she doesn't want anyone to cause any trouble for her. Thank you for the tip. Thank you. 173.63, 139.24, Xiaoqing, 130.68, Wenlan Chaisheng, 157.83 for the reward. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 293. Chapter 293. Adapting to his closeness. An expression of surprise appeared on MRSMO's face. "Mom, what did you say to Rura? Of course, let her find another good man and stop staring at our ACI. Mom, you..." MRSMO became a little anxious when she heard this. She didn't know what the old lady said. But it's certainly not a good thing to say. Otherwise, Shenro wouldn't have come to her with red eyes in the afternoon and said she had to leave because of something. What if the old lady said something very hurtful, which made her so sad that she gave up on ACI? She could not find a girl who was better than Shenro and more suitable for her son. Wenpei, seeing that she clearly didn't listen to what she just said, the old lady lowered her face coldly and said in a serious tone, "You remember my words, Mian is my granddaughter-in-law, and I don't allow anyone to mess with her. If you destroy it, don't blame me for being rude. As for ACI's weird problem, if he can find a woman who suits him now, it's because God has opened his eyes. I can't bear to see your son die alone. You have to thank God for this." Mrs. Mo's lips twitched, wanting to refute. Finally, "I endured it." Grateful, what does she have to be grateful for? Her son has recovered from his illness. What does it have to do with Jiao Mian? That was cured by the doctor. But how dare she say these words to the old lady? Okay, don't stand here blowing the wind, go back. The old lady was thinking about holding a banquet and wanted to plan it right away. She used to envy other people's children and grandchildren for getting married and having children. She had been envious for so many years. Now, it was finally her turn for others to envy her. Just thinking about it made the old lady feel happy. This time she is going to make a big deal out of it and let people see how beautiful her grandson-in-law looks and how much she loves her. Let's see who will say in the future that her precious grandson is abnormal and likes men. Asterisk. On the way back, Jiao Mian played with the sandalwood box that the old lady gave her. The box was very delicate, and the carvings on the outside were actually made of gold. At first glance, it looks very noble. She hasn't opened it yet to see what's inside, but she plans to go back and take a look later. Moyesi lowered his eyes and glanced at her. Seeing her flipping the box over and over with a very curious look, he couldn't help but curl his lips and said, "Want to know what's inside? Just open it and take a look. Why are you hesitating?" Jiao Mian raised her head and met his cold and beautiful jaw. From being close, she could see that there was still a layer of light stubble on his chin, and she could also smell the smell of the bottle of shaving water he had used in the morning, which was very light, fragrant and smelly. Her whole body was wrapped in Moyesi's arms, leaning against his warm and strong chest. Moyesi especially likes to hug her now. As soon as she got into the car, she was pulled into his arms. At first, Jiao Mian felt uncomfortable. Now that I have been hugged more often, I am no longer so pretentious. Anyway, she and Moyesi are already married. Being hugged by your husband is not a shameful thing. And now that she has decided to try to accept him, she has to adapt to his closeness. Of course, in addition to these reasons, there is another reason that makes her a little shy, that is, she actually likes the feeling of being held in Moyesi's arms. She was surrounded by his breath, and when she rested her head on his strong chest, she felt at ease and warm. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 294. Chapter 294. No matter how expensive the gift is, you can still afford it. It's like being trapped in a safe haven. Do you know what's inside? Jiao Mian picked up the box and waved it in front of his eyes. Moyesi shook his head, "I don't know. This is a gift prepared by Grandma for you. Only she knows what's inside." Jiao Mian was really curious and opened the box before returning home. She had known that the old lady would be generous. Things given must be very valuable. But when she saw that there were several land deeds inside, she was shocked. She looked at the various houses and shops in prime locations written on the land deeds. She stared at them in stunned silence for a while, then slowly raised her head. The shock in her eyes has not dissipated, and her mood has not calmed down for a long time. Her heart is beating very fast. Is this a land deed transfer? Moyesi glanced at it, as if he was not surprised at all, and said calmly, "Well, this should have been prepared by Grandma a long time ago. The houses in the above areas are all prepared by her to be given to you." You can give them to you tomorrow. Give me the relevant documents and I'll have someone handle the gifting procedures for you. Chiao Mian Mian. Her eyes were as round as bells. She swallowed her saliva and was so excited that she was speechless. Give it to me. Um. All give it to me. Chiao Mian Mian felt like she was about to faint. This is too exciting. How can the old lady spend so much money? She has clearly given her several mountains of gold and silver, so that she can have enough food and clothing for a lifetime, no, for several lifetimes. She is the god of wealth in this world. Anywhere on the property deed is worth tens of millions. Several properties added together, that's hundreds of millions. As soon as he took action, he gave hundreds of millions of gifts, and she was so stimulated that she almost had a myocardial infarction. The hand holding the wooden box was shaking violently. It feels very unreal, like a dream. No, this gift is too expensive. Chiao Mian Mian took a deep breath, trying to calm down, but she was still extremely excited and couldn't calm down at all. I can't accept such an expensive gift. Since grandma gave it to you, just take it. Mo Yesi looked at her flushed face, curled his lips, took the wooden box from her hand and closed it. After putting the box aside, he reached out and touched her head. You are now MRSMO, no matter how expensive the gift is, I can afford it. Besides, this is also the rule of our family. Everyone has a share of the new daughter-in-law. If you are the only one who doesn't have one, wouldn't it mean that our family is unwilling to accept you? All right. Since he said so, Chiao Mian Mian didn't refuse any more pretentiously. She suddenly became a rich woman worth hundreds of millions, and she felt very happy. However, when it comes to the Mo family's acceptance of her, it can be seen that the old lady definitely accepted her. But MRSMO. Chiao Mian Mian was originally a sensitive person, and she could still feel whether MRSMO liked her or not. It seemed that Mo Yesi had also thought of this. He pondered for a moment and said softly, you don't have to worry about my mother's place. I will talk to her. If you don't like to go back, we won't go back in the future. Chiao Mian Mian immediately shook her head. I don't have any objection to mom. Besides, didn't you say that my eldest brother has very little time to go back? If we don't go back once for 10 days and a half in the future, grandma and the others will be sad. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 295. Chapter 295, Somewhat Uncontrollable. She still likes the old lady very much. Such a kind and amiable old man, just like her grandmother. If she had time, she would like to see the old lady more. Especially because the old lady gave her hundreds of millions of real estate. Chiao Mian Mian now feels that the old lady is as close to her as she is to her grandmother. She absolutely loved the old lady. Who doesn't love this kind of old man who doesn't mess around at home, cares deeply about his younger generation, and spends money extremely generously? Don't worry. Mo Yesi looked at her lovingly, held her face and kissed her forehead gently. I know how to deal with it. Asterisk. After returning, Chiao Chen called and said that some of his classmates hadn't gotten together for a long time and they were staying at the school at night and would not go back to their place. Chiao Mian Mian gave him a few words of advice, and after washing up early, she lay down on the bed. Before going to bed, Mo Yesi made some brown sugar water for her to drink. Chiao Mian Mian drank the brown sugar water and played with her mobile phone for a while before feeling sleepy. Mo Yesi was also holding a book and reading it. She glanced at it casually and saw that it was a book entirely in English. Most of the pages contained characters she didn't recognize. Sleepy. Seeing that she was about to close her eyes, he closed the book in his hand, put his hand on the bedside table, and turned off the lamp at the same time. The room fell into darkness. Mo Yesi lay down gently and stretched out his hands to hold her petite body in his arms. The other hand fell on the top of her head, caressed her gently, and said in a low and gentle voice, "Go to sleep if you feel sleepy. It's only 10 o'clock in the evening." For someone like him who often stays up until 2 or 3 o'clock, it is very early. He has not gone to bed early for a long time. Actually, he couldn't sleep now, but since she was sleepy, he would sleep with her. Yet Xiao Mian was already a little sleepy. After he turned off the light, she slowly closed her eyes, twisted in his arms, and adjusted to a comfortable sleeping position before she calmed down. The 2 twists she made Mo Yesi's blood surge. When Xiang Nephrite was held in his arms, her soft body pressed against him. A seductive fragrance penetrated his nose, and the charming breath seemed to challenge his self-control. He has always suppressed his desires in front of her. I don't dare to think too much about the idea of wanting her. Once you think too much, you will lose control. And now, she can't be touched. Fortunately, Xiao Mian only twisted a few times and behaved herself. Haven't moved any more. Mo Yesi spent a while to calm down the desire in his body. Not long after Xiao Mian fell asleep, he gradually fell asleep. Asterisk. A dreamless night. The next day, Xiao Mian came back to life full of blood and got up in high spirits. Zhang Luli was afraid that she would forget about the audition, so he called her early in the morning to remind her. While having breakfast, Xiao Mian told Mo Yesi about the audition. After Mo Yesi heard this, he placed the cut steak in front of her table. What was the name of the director of that play you just mentioned? Xiao Mian finished drinking the milk and wiped her mouth. Bai Yusheng, director Bai. He is quite famous in our circle and is a very talented director. Mo Yesi's eyes flashed and his lips curled up, indicating that he understood. After that, he didn't ask her any more questions. After dinner, he originally said to send Xiao Mian there, but he got a call at the last minute and asked him to handle something urgent in person. "You don't have to worry about me," Xiao Mian said thoughtfully and sensibly, "you can go about your business. There are so many cars at home, so I just need a driver to take me there." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 296. Chapter 296 Help Mr. Mo tie his tie. Hearing her use the word home so naturally, Mo Yesi was stunned for a moment, with a pleasant smile in his eyes. The two of them walked to the living room. Ryan brought a tie over. Before, he was the one who tied Mo Yesi's tie. He took the tie and stepped forward. Just when he was about to tie Mo Yesi's tie like before, he saw his young master stretching out a hand towards him. "Give me the tie." Huh? Ryan was wondering if his young master wanted to tie it himself. But, will he tie it? Then he saw his young master take the tie and pass it to the young lady beside him. Mo Yesi raised the corners of his lips slightly, his voice and seductive. "Help Mr. Mo tie his tie," and he actually did it in front of so many people. Huh? She shouted "Mo," which made Xiao Mian's heart beat wildly. She blushed and took the tie over, muttering in a low voice, "I'm not very good at tying it, so don't dislike it if it's not tied well. Lower your head, I can't reach your neck." She raised her hands to tie his tie, but he was too tall, and she couldn't reach his neck even when she stood on tiptoes. Mo Yesi lowered his head in cooperation. Xiao Mian stood on tiptoes, took the tie and wrapped it around his neck. One lowers his head and the other raises his head, getting closer to each other. Mo Yesi smelled a faint fragrance in her hair, and there was also a nice fragrance on her body. He doesn't like women putting perfume on themselves. He smelled those expensive perfumes and always found them pungent. But she doesn't have those pungent and unpleasant smells. She always has a light, sweet aroma, like the smell of ripe peaches, mixed with a very light floral fragrance. No matter how you smell it, you can't get enough of it. Hold her fragrant and soft body in his arms at night and smell her fragrance, and he would fall asleep quickly. Okay, it's tied. Chiao Mian straightened the tie, took a small step back, raised her head slightly to look at the finished result, and her eyes showed satisfaction. When she was admiring her achievements, she couldn't help but secretly sigh in her heart that the man in front of her who was now her husband was truly the best of the best. With a height of 188 centimeters, he appears to be extremely tall and slender, especially those long legs that attract people's attention wherever he goes. Not to mention, he also has a very good-looking face. He is born with a clothes-hanging figure and looks good in anything he wears. To put it a bit exaggeratedly, if someone like him wears a rag on his body, he will probably be called a new fashion. But Chiao Mian still feels that he looks the best and most charming when he wears formal clothes. Black shirt and black trousers, cool colors from head to toe, with a strong ascetic atmosphere. The straight trousers wrapped around his incredibly long legs made him look even taller and taller, with a noble temperament. Wherever he stood, he looked like a domineering CEO with full aura. She felt that the overbearing president in the novel was like this. While she was staring at Mo Yesi longingly, the man lowered his eyes and saw her obsessed look, and the corners of his lips rose in pleasure. Stretching out his long arms, he pulled her into his arms, pinched her small and delicate chin and kissed her. Chiao Mian's eyes widened, a blush appearing on her face. There are other people in the hall. In addition to Ren, there were also several maids standing. He actually did it in front of so many people. Thank you Nao, 15765, Moon in the Water, Sweet and Sour Lemon Fragrance, Suinwu's Reward. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 297. Chapter 297. She really likes him calling her that. He actually did it in front of so many people. Chiao Mian is thin-skinned. Even though she has been trying to slowly accept Mo Yesi's closeness, she is still a little uncomfortable with showing affection in public. Fortunately, Mo Yesi also knows what's appropriate. He just pecked her lightly on the lips and quickly let go of her. The firelight flickered in the deep and charming dark eyes. Looking at her crimson face, which was as beautiful as a blooming red rose, he said in a low voice, "Thank you, Mrsmo." Chiao Mian felt several eyes around her falling on her. She buried her head in his arms a little shyly. Thinking of the kiss just now, her heartbeat was very fast. Although it was just a shallow kiss, it was the first time he kissed her in front of so many people. Moreover, he called her Mrsmo. She thought she really liked him calling her that. When he called her Mrsmo, he sounded particularly doting. After all, Ren was an old man, so he wasn't too rude. Although he was surprised by their young master's public display of affection, he didn't show it too much. On the surface, he looks very calm. But the other maids were still young and at the age of fantasy. When they saw the scene just now, they all blushed and their hearts beat as if they had been kissed. Everyone is envious of Chiao Mian. Who said that the young master married the young lady not because he liked her? Looking at the young master like this, you obviously like him very much, okay? Otherwise, can you not help but kiss the young lady in public? Ouch, madam, you are so lucky. A man as perfect as the young master, who dotes on his wife so much, is hard to find even with a lantern. Marrying a man like this will make your life perfect. Asterisk. Mo Yesi asked Uncle Lee to send Chiao Mian to the audition, and he drove to the company himself. 40 minutes later, Chiao Mian arrived at the audition early. Zhang Luli was waiting for her in the hall. As soon as he saw her, he immediately walked towards her. Qiao Mian noticed that there were many actors from other companies coming to audition in the hall. Among them, there are many second and third-tier actresses who have recently become famous. In terms of qualifications and popularity, she can't even compare to other people's fingers. Qiao Mian suddenly felt tremendous pressure. However, pressure is pressure, and she is still a little confident about this audition. After all, it was a novel that she had read several times, and she still knew the characters in the novel very well. Zhang Luli asked her to audition for the role, and the character's appearance was very similar to her own. In this regard, she had an advantage. Furthermore, as far as she understood, director Bai Yusheng didn't just choose actors based on their popularity, but more importantly, whether the actors fit the image in the play. What's more important is that he also likes to praise newcomers, but all the newcomers he praises are called beautiful girls in the circle. In a word, if you are attracted by Bai Yusheng and he wants to flatter you, there is no way he can't flatter you. Zhang Luli pulled her over and walked to a place where no one was around, then whispered to her, "Baby, I got the script in advance and studied it. Your appearance and personality are very consistent with the script. The third female lead. You don't have to worry about fame. Brother Bai never cares about fame when choosing actors. His name itself is a huge source of traffic. Many of his previous TV series have used new actors and the ratings have been the same. Very explosive." Qiao Mian nodded, "Yes, I know. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 298. Chapter 298 I'm going to audition, please make arrangements for me immediately." When Zhang Luli said this, her psychological pressure was relieved a lot. "How are you doing? Are you sure?" Zhang Luli, who accompanied her to the audition, seemed a little more nervous than she was. Qiao Mian patted the back of her hand and winked at her, "Don't worry, I'm still a little sure. I'll try my best to fight for it." Asterisk. The other side. Just when Zhang Luli called Qiao Mian, Qiao Angzhen also received a call. After answering the phone, her face darkened. "Bai Yusheng's new drama is in the process of selecting actors, do you know about this?" Qiao Angzhen squeezed her phone and asked her agent Linda. "I know." Linda nodded, "Didn't I tell you about this before? You said you were not interested in this kind of romantic and artistic film." Qiao Angzhen pursed her lips. She was silent for a while and said, "I'm going to audition. You can make arrangements for me right away." Linda was stunned for a moment and frowned, "Aren't you already determined to play the female lead in the Emperor's Palace? You have no time to take on other roles now. Don't sign the contract with Emperor Palace yet, find an excuse to delay it." Linda frowned, "Isn't that bad? We spent a lot of effort to win this drama. This is a costume drama with a big IP. I don't know how many people are trying to win your role. Huanyu is still thinking about it and wants Chen Yilin to get your role. If Mr. Su hadn't promised to invest 200 million in Emperor Palace, it might be Chen Yilin's leading female role. Although Qiao Angzhen can also be called a first-line flower. But among small flowers, they are divided into upper, middle, and lower categories. Qiao Angzhen has just entered the level of Xiahua. Chen Yilin has good looks and strength, and she also has a big financial backer. In terms of fame, she is a step ahead of Qiao Angzhen. The only thing that makes her inferior to Qiao Angzhen is that the sponsor is still not as rich and powerful as the Su family. With the investment from Brother A's, it is impossible for the female lead to be given to others. Qiao Angzhen was not worried about these problems at all. She knows who the financial backer behind Chen Yilin is. An old, ugly, greasy man with just a few dollars in his bag. Compared with the rich and powerful Su family, it is not worth mentioning. As long as Su Ziyi is willing to support her, She doesn't need to worry at all. Looking at her disapproving look, Linda was secretly worried. She knew that with Suzy supporting Qiao Angzhen, her future would definitely be bright. After all, she could get all kinds of resources. Furthermore, Qiao Angzhen can be considered a somewhat capable person. Compared with those truly powerful factions, they are definitely incomparable. But among all the little flowers, her acting skills are pretty good. As long as someone supports it, it will definitely become popular. Only, the Su family is very powerful, but there are also people in this circle who are more powerful than the Su family. She is too willful and it is definitely not a good thing. Why do you suddenly think of auditioning for Bai Yusheng's new drama? If you want to go, tell me in advance and I can make arrangements for you. Linda felt a little dissatisfied. She is also considered a gold medal agent in the industry. We have brought out many artists with good results in the past. No matter how popular those artists are, they still respect her as their manager. They would call her sister politely when they meet her. Even when Suzy saw her, he would take the initiative to say hello to her. Later, Suzy stuffed Qiao Angzhen into Xinggui, so that she would only be responsible for Qiao Angzhen as an artist from now on. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 299. Chapter 299. She is not my sister. She thought at that time that she would be much more relaxed in the future. Unexpectedly, Miss Qiao Angzhen has a very bad temper. Not to mention respecting her, she just treats her like an assistant. Linda had never been so angry before. Those artists who are much more popular than Qiao Angzhen must be respectful and behave themselves when meeting her. Had she not thought of the relationship between Qiao Angzhen and Suzy, how could she be as patient as she is now? How did I know that little Qiao Mian would actually audition for Bai Yusheng's new drama? Qiao Angzhen became angry when she mentioned this, and said with a sullen face, no wonder she turned down the job of a substitute, it turns out she was planning this. She is the only one who dares to think about Bai Yusheng's drama? She doesn't even look at how much she weighs. Qiao Angzhen doesn't like literary dramas, but how awesome Bai Yusheng is, she is new. It was because I knew Bai Yusheng and knew that he liked to praise newcomers that I felt a sense of crisis after receiving the call that Qiao Mian was going to audition. If Bai Yusheng doesn't value fame, that little may not have a chance. After all, she has a charming face, which can still confuse men. Once she is given a chance to show her face. No, she had to find a way to stop it. No matter what, she would not let Qiao Mian have a chance to become famous. Your sister is going to audition for Bai Yusheng's play. Linda was a little surprised by this. She is not my sister. Qiao Angzhen was like a cat whose tail was stepped on, and she suddenly became very excited. How could that little be my sister? I have no relationship with her at all. Just when Linda thought she said this because she hated Qiao Mian, she heard her say bitterly, she is just a from the orphanage, a who doesn't even have parents, she deserves to be me sister. So, even if she robs Suzy, so what? Does a from an orphanage deserve to be a member of the Su family? She is the real eldest lady of the Qiao family. What kind of can live a better life than her? Everything she has now should belong to her. Linda was startled when she heard this, and her expression darkened. This is the first time Qiao Angzhen has told her about this matter. Qiao Mian is not a biological child of the Qiao family. After a moment of surprise, she soon felt relieved again. No wonder she always felt that the two Qiao sisters looked nothing alike. From head to toe, there is nothing resembling him. She suppressed her surprise secretly and asked calmly, what about your brother? Having been Qiao Angzhen's agent for 2 years, Linda still knows a little about her family. I know that her relationship with Jiao Mian and Jiao Chen is not very good. You mean Jiao Chen, that sick guy? Jiao Angzhen's words were full of disgust, and her attitude was definitely not like that towards her own brother. She is just like that little Jiao Mian, they are both in the orphanage. Linda had already guessed it. So when I heard her say it, I wasn't very surprised. She thought for a moment and asked again, Jiao Mian and Jiao Chen are not biological siblings, are they? These two people don't look alike. No, Jiao Angzhen quickly revealed the secret that she had been holding back for many years. She didn't feel it was inappropriate, so she just let it out quickly and told Linda everything. They are all from the orphanage, was adopted into Jiao's family when he was just over 1 year old. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 300. Chapter 300. I will never let her succeed. But why doesn't your dad raise a biological child of his own and go to an orphanage to adopt him? Humph, my dad's ex-wife is just a hen that can't lay eggs otherwise. Is it okay to adopt her? Originally, my dad just wanted to adopt a son, but boys were in short supply in those years, and he couldn't find a suitable one for a while, so he had to adopt a daughter first. The next year, when a suitable candidate was found, he take Jiao Chen home again. Linda thought thoughtfully for a while. Jiao Mian and Jiao Chen don't know about this. Yet Jiao Angzhen sneered, with disdain in his eyes, I don't know why my father insisted on hiding it and didn't allow my mother and I to tell this matter. Maybe it's because he still has some feelings for those two bastards. Especially Jiao Mian, who used to be his precious daughter. He was afraid that if he told it, it would hurt their self-esteem. But A is a bastard, and paper can't cover up the fire. I don't believe that this matter can be hidden for a lifetime. Ha, when one day that little finds out that she is a bastard, I don't know how she will react. Linda was a little frightened when she saw the malicious look in Jiao Angzhen's eyes and her crazy look. She couldn't understand why there was such hostility even though Jiao Angzhen had snatched Suzy away. What threat could Jiao Mian still pose to her now? She now crushes Jiao Mian in every aspect. A still wants to compete with me and live a better life than me. She's dreaming. Jiao Angzhen half squinted her malicious eyes, gritted her teeth, and said word by word, I will never let her succeed. Of. Asterisk. Yunchinj Hotel. Auditions officially begin. When it was Jiao Mian's turn, as soon as she walked into the performance hall, the eyes of the man sitting in the middle of the interview seat lit up. His eyes fell directly on her. Jiao Mian bowed to the interviewers gracefully, and said without being arrogant or humble, Hello teachers, my name is Jiao Mian, I am still a student at Yunchinj Film Academy, and I have not signed a contract with the company yet. I'm here to interview for the role of the third female lead, Shen Yunian. Several other interview staff also felt their eyes lit up. The girl standing in front of them had a very stunning face. Her facial features are delicate and soft, her temperament is pure, but her eyebrows are a bit charming. The long shawl hair looks like a special effect in a come-it-yourself shampoo commercial, black and soft. She was wearing a very simple white dress without too many decorations. She looked fairy-like, like an elf who accidentally fell into the mortal world. Even in the entertainment industry where handsome men and beautiful women are everywhere, this kind of appearance is still outstanding. They have been interviewing for almost an hour, and they haven't seen anyone who is very satisfied with them. Everyone has a more or less listless expression on their faces, and they are a little uninterested. The appearance of Jiao Mian was like a sudden breeze blowing in the sultry season. Several people couldn't help but feel refreshed and became a little more interested. My mental state is completely different from before. Yunchinj Film Academy. Jiao Mian. Sitting in the middle of the interview seat is director Bai Yisheng. Most of the important roles in his plays are selected by him personally, and it is he who makes the final decision on whether to cast an actor or not. It can be said that he is the person with the greatest say in the whole play. In addition to the fact that he is indeed very talented and famous, the more important point is that he is not short of money. Thank you 18734, Zindi, Z23 for the reward. Babies, let's vote and score. If you like it, please give it a 5-star rating. End of this chapter.